for the Aussie Gridiron Network. This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
No, I just had a plan tonight to say whatever Taylor said, just agree with him. So this is kind of throwing a spanner in the works for me.
I'm going to rename Singletary Zero Terry because I think that's how much I'm going to have.
Aussie?
I had to show people on a doll where I got touched in the first 2 weeks. It was not good.
We did not give consent. We were getting reamed.
NFL?
It'd be the shitting in his cereal, I think. That would be the problem.
That is the issue, yes. I don't think I need to know Spencer Rattler's breakfast schedule. Is he putting turds in Alave's fucking breakfast like Car is? I don't know.
Fantasy.
Cross singles, baby. I'm taking him for sure.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, Taylor. So thank you very much for clarifying.
No problem.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Antiques Roadshow. Looking through a carcass. This is great stuff.
Quality entertainment as usual, boys.
Yeah, just wonderful.
Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back for another week. Can you believe we are through 6 weeks and we're starting to talk about week 7? That makes this the halfway point of the fantasy season. Oh my God. You're listening to the Aussie Gridiron Network, and this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. They call me Matty C, and with me tonight is a man who is thankful that Detroit did not take the foot off Dallas's throat in the afternoon slate of games this week because it gave Jared Goff the opportunity to put up a respectable fantasy score. And, mate, he needed one. It's Australia's third most fine fantasy analyst. It's Taylor Goodall. How are you, mate?
Boys, hang your massive Devons out for week 7. I'm absolutely stoked to be here. I know things didn't work out too well in starts of the week. We'll get to that later, but mate, it was a great slate. Had a good week again, 9-4 across my 13 leagues. So 150 of my 78 games so far. So it's been a good year so far. But, mate, just can't wait to get into it. We have another new guest. So yeah, just can't wait to rip in.
Mate, this is just the greatest fun because after all these years of domination at starts of the week and our slow start between you and I, you really had sort of rocketed back up. And that's kind of, maybe it's a temporary hurdle, but it's kind of fun to see that it's not all smooth sailing, green lights and open doors for you, mate. I'm going to relish this while that is the case because it may not last forever. So I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to keep on rolling in that grass, mate.
There's nothing better than picking your team than waking up Thursday morning and seeing that like 2 of your players are questionable straight away. It's absolutely wonderful. It's part of this segment. That's the part of the risk of doing it on a Wednesday night Australian time. But look, mate, that's part of the game, and we just roll with it.
Oh, and mate, it is like literally like it is 6:30 a.m. New York time or whatever on a Wednesday when we record. So like, oh my God, there's so much to happen, so much water to go under that bridge. And we've each now, you and I, both been stung by having a player who was trending in a decent direction and we're hopeful for, then not kind of get as far along as we wanted, and we both need an INJ 0. So, you know, what do you do? At least it wasn't the guy who had the touchdown guarantee from Taylor Talk, mate. That would have stung. But the Taylor Talk segment, we'll cap that off today too. And of course, we've got our usual thing where we bring in a terrific guest. We get to know them a bit, and we're also going to subject them to pulling us through some great players that they think are really great starts for week 7. But Tay, I'd like you to bring our guest in this week. I've been doing it every week, and I just feel like you're better positioned for it.
Absolutely, mate. So this is a man who I've known a long, long time, probably too fucking long, to be honest. I think we've definitely been family friends since, 10 years old. Grew up playing footy and basketball together. He's known around the traps as picking players up that have names that sound like asses, or just basically male genitalia in general. So that's pretty much what he brings to any league that he's in. And he's been the treasurer of our main dynasty league. So he's basically, keeping funds to himself and giving us whatever's left. But, mate, I want to introduce Ben Jones. Welcome.
Hello, guys. How's it going?
Mate, it's a pleasure to have you in.
Thank you very much. I put all that money in my account and earn the interest on it.
Yep.
And then chuck it all on the one at Wenny Park and lose it.
As long as it's got early speed. If it's got early speed.
Yeah, that's right.
That's fantastic. I can't think of anyone who's better positioned to come and join us than someone who's really keen to go and pick up the guy who's got like dick, balls, bag, ass, whatever it might be in their name, because that is 90% of our that's 90% of our game here, Tay, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a low percentage. I think you've rounded down on that one. We're a pro ass and anus and balls show.
McManus, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am trying to promote that we're family friendly, but we are absolutely not. That's true. And Benny, how's the fantasy season treating you, mate? You're getting some wins up there?
Look, we've got a Superflex league that I'm currently 3-3 in. Been scoring very well. Had a couple of unlucky losses. And in my Dynasty League, I am tanking.
Oh, here we go. That's a man who's singing the song that I love.
Unfortunately, I thought about a lot of things, but not actually the fact that I needed my own pick for next year for tanking. So I'm on a mission to get that one back.
Oh, dear.
No one's going to give it to you, though. It's going to cost you.
No, it's actually, and funnily enough, it's with my brother. So
yeah, good luck.
I don't know what I'm going to
do. Yeah, shout out Bones. But for anyone who's in our listener leagues, he's Boner 13, Benny's brother.
Oh!
Because I have that many messages from who the fuck is Boner 13?
Sounds like a bloke who also just really loves a good old dick ball bag ass kind of joke as well.
Yeah,
it is, but it's funny too. It's not even like, so Bones is his nickname, but he's notorious for not changing his team names either. That's literally just his username.
I love that.
It's also so fucking hard to get a hold of him. You need like a carrier pigeon to fucking get to him. He's worse than Betty. You think Betty's a lurker in the fucking bushes in group chats. Tim doesn't even have a picture. It just pops up with a fucking avatar like underneath when you say something, and then you just never hear from him. Like it's absolutely gold.
It's a guy who's got his brand and he's gonna fucking stick to it.
Exactly.
I don't know why I'm impressed by that. I just am. I don't know. I'm way too flighty and I like to change my names and I like to update pictures, but I'm super impressed by the commitment. A nice one, Bones.
Yeah, I branched out from the vinegar strokes in a few leagues and decided to call my team Premature Ejaculations. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yes, you did.
I'm going to rebrand half my teams. I'm going to rebrand about 6 of them. I was like, any league I've been in for a while, or like our Dynasty, I'm on the trophy for the first 2 years as Vinegar Strokes. So I'm like, anyone that's like that, or like Astro, where I've been on the trophy, I'm like, I want to keep the Vinegar Strokes like franchise and those ones. But any league that's like new or just come out or only been for a couple of years, I was like, fuck it, I'm just rebranding.
American. Well, Benny, you know what I could ask you, mate. If you're in 2 leagues, what are your team names?
I got the oldie. My old classic is the ball sacks.
Yes.
So
I knew you wouldn't fucking disappoint. I knew it.
Yeah,
The old classic.
So that's just my go-to in most leagues. But since I've been picking up sort of, I guess, butt flavored people, I'm now the
flavored. I'm out.
And I know this guy's name isn't actually Anus, but it's Ananias Smith. But now I'm the Anus Lovers.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
I'd be calling him Anus Smith 100% at the time.
Yeah.
I also love how like ball sack has like multiple like meanings to football too, like ball
100%.
sack, ball sack. It just works on so many levels.
Oh, you've come to the right place, mate. You're clearly one of our people.
Yeah, it's a great start.
And so not just NFL fantasy, but this is in other fantasy. Do you play other fantasy sports, Benny?
I have in the past. I've played a bit of just NRL Super Coach and everything, and generally the ball sacks is my name also.
Love that.
Stick to your brand.
Yeah, that's right. Other than that, played a bit of EPL fantasy back in the day, but haven't done it in a long time. So
yeah, I found that tricky. Oh my gosh.
Just a question, Benny, in that Kelly Cup. Who's coming first in that league? Just question.
Please tell me it's Kieran. Kieran came on here and just lost his shit at that league. He was like, fuck it, every time I get the person scores the most, I've got like the 4th highest scoring team, and I'm like 1 in 4. It's bullshit. Just started going nuts. Yeah, he got angry. He got verifiably angry. But who is on top? I'm assuming it's somebody else named Goodall.
Yeah, just some guy just cleaning up the league as usual. But look, anyway, I digress. It was hilarious. I played against one of Kez's mates, and I threw the biggest white flag like halfway through Monday, which I'm so good at. It's just part of what I do.
You never do that.
Daniel Jones was just shit in the bed like normal. I fucking picked him up and played him. And the funny thing was, Bo Nix had like 11 yards after like halfway through the third quarter. And I wrote to a few of the guys saying, thank fuck I played Daniel Jones over Bo Nix. And then Bo Nix ends up on 24 points and fucking Daniel Jones puts up like a 9. And I'm like, that was a great call. But I was like, oh, I'm done. I fucking picked up Jones, and I'm absolutely toast. He's like, fuck you. I know what you're doing. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. The seeds have already been planted. It doesn't matter if you noticed it or not. And anyway, bang, fucking Josh Allen took me to the victory. 5-1, baby.
Yeah. I can definitely imagine you being in the position where you're planning out your white flag moments because, I don't know, this... And we talked a little about this last week in terms of, like, Manjot's the fastest person I've ever met.
Oh, my God.
You just run up the white flag and be like, oh, well, we're all fucked. Like, I've never met anyone who does it faster. But I've 100% been on the end of Taylor's, like, early white flags. Yeah. And it's great because you either get that or you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing except for about 5 minutes before it's all over when he's pumping you by 60. He's like, oh, fuck, I hate when my boys underperform. I've had enough of you, mate.
It's like, I don't want to jinx anything when I'm in front. I actually almost prefer to be behind because that's when I can throw a white flag or something. But when I'm in front, I actually have to sit there and say nothing and hope I don't jinx myself.
Don't fucking move.
It's an art form, fantasy, boys. So
don't breathe too hard. Fuck. Yeah, well, it sounds like this is no new news to Benny here. So, hey, Benny, I've got bad news for you though. As a new guest on the show, we get to subject you to a horrible segment we've been subjecting everyone to. Tay, do you want to tell Benny about it?
Yes. So, Benny, basically anyone that's come new on the podcast, we've subjected them to these wonderful questions that we, our crack, expert team have decided to ask the people that are coming on. Some are fantasy related and some are just completely nuts and the stuff that all the listeners want to hear. So, yeah, basically we've just come up with this segment of 5 questions from 2 wankers, arse stains, dickheads, goobers, like you name it. I've changed the name about 600 times, but basically it's 5 questions from these 2 arse clowns.
Oh, I'm excited.
Well, you work out pretty quickly who's interested in fantasy stuff, who's interested in, well, everything but, because that's pretty much the order they're asked in and pretty well who asked them. I'm going to kick you off with a nice soft pitch, though, Benny. Everybody comes to the show has got a life outside of fantasy football where they do interesting things or they travel or they do something that makes them uniquely them. What's something that the audience might find interesting about you? I don't know, you a cat lady in your spare time? Have you, I don't know, dance for me.
Yeah, shit.
It's the most.
Look, there might be something.
Are you Ben with 2 N's, maybe?
The most generic question that always stumps you.
I'm not. Like, I do have, so I've got a bunch of nicknames, but one that's stuck is, it was Teddy. And how that sort of came along was actually back to my brother called Bones. Other people call him Bear because he's big and hairy, basically. So I'm the younger brother, got called Teddy Bear. Since I've moved up the coast, up to the Central Coast, and it's sort of morphed just into Ted, and now more people know me as Ted than Ben.
Really? That's kind of fun. There's definitely in gridiron world where I played for this horrible football team that doesn't even exist anymore, the Astros. So many of the dudes in that team had nicknames. And when I joined the team, I just knew people by their nicknames. And there was this one guy, and his name was Paris. And for fuck's sake, I had no idea what his actual name was. And somebody mentioned somebody named Steve one day, and I just never understood that the Steve guy was Paris. But this guy had got this nickname, and it's just the dumbest thing. He turned up to training very early on in his career with one of these little, like, carry bags with a dog in it. And so everyone was sort of into him being a bit like Paris Hilton. And it just fucking stuck. And he was Paris for the next 15 years. He still is now. His wife calls him Paris.
Yeah, it's pretty great how nicknames come along just out of absolutely nowhere. And they stick.
All right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, like Johnny Shaft or Ben Jarman.
Yeah.
The old Timmy's extra. So more people these days know Benny as Ted. I like that.
Yep.
See, there you go. That's something interesting.
Yeah, look, I wish it was more interesting, but it'll do.
I like that.
It's no wrestling crocs or just all the 88 things that Pete came up with.
Yeah, all the countries he's been to doing missionary work or I don't know. He that fucking bloke been everywhere. He's made movies. Is there anything he hasn't done? He hasn't been called Ted for starters.
Yeah,
we'll add that to his list.
He's had Lyme disease. He's had it all.
He's had Lyme. I've forgotten about that one.
All right, Benny. If that was a softball, this is the fucking Madison Bumgarner fucking, fastball straight down the middle of the plate. So this is the kind of shit we're all here for. So none of Matty's crap. If you were in an apocalypse, would you rather be fighting zombies or aliens?
I did listen to this question on another one, so I'm somewhat prepared.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
Look, I'm on the alien side. I really wouldn't want to be ripped apart by a zombie. And I don't know, what's the worst an alien will do? Just probe you a bit.
Yeah, who says that's a problem? Could be going.
Yeah, I mean, put that in the pro column.
Benny loves talking about anuses and having team names. He's probably like, well, let's just get this done.
Mate, if we get this done quickly, I can line back up for round 2. Yeah,
it's like a classic massage that I get every week. It's just like, give me the anal probe. Is that part of the package?
Yeah. If it's not, I'll pay extra. I'll pay
for this.
What's the worst could happen? You might get probed a bit.
Yeah. What's the worst that happen? You marry the alien queen.
Are you going to work that in there? Do you think there's a future with you and the alien queen? If you're willing to just take her anal probes.
Yeah, look, why not, eh?
Oh, God. Yeah, look, I'm in stoked. You didn't want to just come out and say what a shit question that was, like Kez did last week? It just makes
what
me say, what a shit question.
Well,
what did you get?
Here's a lot of probing, I reckon.
He didn't mind a probing. He was okay for that. He was all about the aliens.
I think aliens is in front now. Because we're worried we're going to have to tweak this question because the first 4 people were just like, zombies, so fucking easy. What easy.
No, aliens lead 7-6.
Yeah, and then I was just like on this massive defense of just trying to get people to take aliens. And then all of a sudden, everyone's just taking aliens. I almost said, I'm going to have to fucking, start lobbying for the zombies again.
Yeah, I mean, especially when give me the probing is a plus. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Where's the downside?
This question has evolved a lot. And a lot like fantasy season, one might say. Oh, look at that, bringing it back.
Oh, we're talking about fantasy. Oh, shit, I forgot what podcast we're on.
I've gotten back here. All right, Betty, how did you find your favourite NFL team?
It's not too exciting, to be honest. So back when I used to watch a bit of basketball and everything, I used to love Kevin Garnett. So I was a Minnesota fan. When I came to getting into other sports and everything, I thought I just got to pick a city, so I'm not switching cities with everything. Got to pick a city that has all just the major sports. Pick Minnesota. Turns out I think it's a bit of a shithole to go to because it's always cold, but I'm trying to get there.
And it's not a city.
Yes, you're correct.
Close enough.
You're also correct with that, yes.
So semantics, but
Yeah.
So you've done the classic, like, okay, just lining them up. I've got my team here, so I'm going for all of them.
Going for all Minnesota.
How's that working out for you?
Horribly over the years. I mean, it's been up and down. Obviously, the Timberwolves have sort of bounced back a bit. They were actually pretty good last year.
Twins were good this year, right?
Twins were good again. Like they've, been up and down a bit, but and Wild were good for a bit as well. But I don't really follow hockey that much. No. But I don't know who does really.
Canadians. That's who follows that.
Canadians, yeah.
Terrence and Phillip.
We haven't had a Terrence and Phillip reference. Talking about people who love asses. Fantastic. This year, then you'd be feeling actually really quite good about your Minnesota.
Surprisingly good. I think their run line was like maybe 3.5 or 4 wins or something like that. And obviously they've come good with who would have thought Sam Darnold,
Sammy D.
So this is the question for Minnesota fans, right? It's like you do all these wonderful things and you see Cousins out and you immediately go and draft a guy who's people have actually got quite a bit of hope for and who think can, hit the ground probably running, who then whole first season is out the window through a preseason injury, and then you're left with, okay, Sam Darnold, let's go.
Yeah, look, it was in my eyes, it was pretty much a write-off, but obviously it's changed now. I don't like speaking ill of the team and everything, but I still think he's going to shit the bed, but we'll see.
2 weeks ago in London against a very tough defense, he did not particularly play well, but they won. And this week may be the big test, right? Because Detroit are starting to look pretty good as well. Although you wouldn't mind seeing they've lost their best defender. You wouldn't mind seeing that.
And he can't rely on the running game. Like, I don't even know if Aaron Jones is playing, but even if he was, like, Detroit is like you cannot run on them. Like, you can't run
Detroit. You can't run on Minnesota. So it's that'll be fun.
If they're going to win this game, they're going to have to rely on Darnold. Like, it's actually going to have to be a game he can't game manage, which, to be fair, there's been a lot of games where he hasn't just been a game manager. He's actually been throwing the piss out of it. So, like, good for him for so far. He deserves the accolades. I still think the system of KOC, I've been bringing it up since the preseason, is so quarterback friendly that's definitely helping him too. But yeah, this is the opportunity. This is like Darnold's moment to really prove that he's for real. I think like if he has a bad game, you can't really say like he's not for real because they'll be still 6-1 and still having a good year. But I think this is the moment for him to really win like a big game and sort of prove himself even more.
Yeah. Don't get bigger than this. I mean, this is like the team who are just a ball bouncing into being an intercept away from probably going to the Super Bowl versus this team people have written off. Even their own fans are like, it could be a tough season without our number one draft pick being out there to lead us.
Yeah, look, I think it was going to be a tough season either way with the rookie. But, it's definitely been a massive surprise with Darnold.
Can redshirt him again next year and let him sit behind Darnold to learn after Darnold wins the Super Bowl, and it'll be great. Can you imagine having a Sam Darnold statue outside the fucking big old glass box? How good would that be?
I know, you'd have to put a ghost behind it.
You'll have to make the statue ginger. Exactly. And what's more Viking than a ginger? It's always tough.
Anyway, we're waiting on this amazing question, mate. We're talking too much about the Vikings. Fuck those guys. All right, here we go. The question we have got some absolutely fantastic answers here, Ben. It's just been a fantastic question. What would you put on your NFL Fantasy Tinder profile?
I'll go with a bit of a play on names here.
Here comes the namist.
You're correct. I don't need to put it in your Keyshawn Boutte, but I would take a Colston Yankoff. That's a deep dive on a rookie that probably no one knows.
There's Marquise Colston? Is that who?
No, there's a bloke called Colston Yankoff.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's a deep dive.
That is a deep dive.
I feel like I could work this into a shirt and it could be up in the merch store by the weekend.
No one else has better arse analysis than Benny Jones.
Analysis from Benny Jones.
Analysis. Well done.
Nice.
He's gone further than James Cameron down to fucking get that from the depths of the sea. That was brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. That bloke's going to the Mariana Trench. This guy, he'll make Mariana Trench arse jokes. Hey, you've definitely found your home. You've been playing fantasy for a couple of years. Who's your favourite NFL fantasy player of all time in the Benny Jones Hall of Fame?
So I've got one that I don't think many people will agree with, and I probably shouldn't agree with either, mainly because, and I think this story's been told on this podcast before, first year of our dynasty. First year of our dynasty.
Got a bit of tea.
Yeah, I was up against Mr. Taylor Goodall in the final. I can't remember the actual situation, but I basically needed 13 points or something from DIONTAE Johnson. He had 18 targets, I believe, and scored a touchdown in the first half as well. Yes. I think I needed 1 point or one and a half points to then win, and he managed to drop about 8 balls in a row. And
there's an entire YouTube clip of like that game of like how many passes he dropped from Big Ben in that second half. It is unbelievable.
And so it really should be my least favourite player, but I've just got a soft spot for him. He just, I don't know how he does it. He's always open. He commands targets.
I was not thinking this morning when I got up that I was going to hear somebody say, you know who my favourite fantasy player of all time is? It's DIONTAE Johnson.
Because he lost me a championship somehow. It's grown on me.
Hey, Benny, you survived 5 questions, so well done.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much for participating in a real rite of passage in the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show community.
Yankoff.
Yankoff. That's going to take a little while to shake that, by the way. I've had Hot to Go by Chappell Roan in my head for a little while. I think Yankoff is just going to go in and replace it.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Mate, I'm moister than a horny oyster.
Matty C is the greatest fantasy analyst alive.
I don't remember that coming out of my mouth.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Bit like that rash Taylor got at fucking Schoolies. I'm back again.
Hey, Tate, this is one of my very, very favourite things that we do each week. And because we get our wonderful guest to come and join us in it, is we talk breakouts. Mate, I actually felt a little bit plucky when I saw Chris Godwin going a little bit ham last week. He was the only one that I felt any good about. How did you feel about some of your calls from the breakouts?
Oh, yeah, I may have brought it up on a couple of occasions in our group chat.
Maybe.
I was pretty stoked, to be honest, Matty C, with definitely one of them. A couple of them were very, very good, but one of them was definitely one that I went for a bit, because obviously we've been talking in this, and even Kieran brought up last week because he wasn't 100% sure exactly like what you were meant to do in this segment. Were you meant to take lower-owned players and hope they break out, or whether you're meant to take high-end ones? Basically, it's up to you. If you take a guy that's perennially in between the wide receiver 5 and 10, you're basically probably taking them to be in the top 2 this week. Or if you're taking someone that's wide receiver 40, you're trying to get them into that top 18. You're trying to pick someone that you believe because of their matchup or because of some reason this week you believe they're going to have a breakout performance. And that really is just based off where you probably drafted them and basically off the idea of what you expect out of that player each week to week. But
I think what you did with the segment last week was interesting too, because you weren't just saying breaking out. You'd done some interesting things with how you're going to measure the success, which I kind of like, and I'll do something similar this week. But do you want to quickly describe some of that?
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing that because obviously the first few weeks I was just going, top 3 or top 5, whatever.
Yeah.
And it felt like sometimes, because you never know exactly whether it's going to be a big quarterback week or a big running back week or whatever. No. So you can actually hit someone and smash it out of the park, but you've gone bullshit in the top 3. And it's like, they had 32 points, but somehow they ended up the quarterback 4 or something. Yeah. And technically you lost, but really you helped everyone by picking that player. So I think with some of it, I'll still do that, but I'll mix in, some point totals, touchdown guarantees, whatever. So it's really up to you and how you do this. It's just really trying to pick out a guy that's going to have a breakout performance and you sort of picking what you think that breakout performance looks like.
Yeah. And hopefully, Benny, that'll help a little bit too, because it's not kind of like starts of the week or with Taylor does his Taylor talk where we generally talking about players who have a little bit of iffiness about them. This one, you don't even have to worry about the iffiness. But if you've got a player who you think is on the edge of worth starting and you want to mention them now, it's a good time to do it. But yeah, you don't have to be held to that. You can kind of really plant your flag on a player that you think is just in a great position and has a great matchup and will really blow the fucking doors off it.
Yeah, we have so many other segments that are based off lowly owned players. Yeah. So anyone's doing waivers and wants to hear about not just the obvious players. We do a lot with that already. This is really just about to talk about guys that are getting started in a lot of leagues, but you just think that you have huge conviction, and we like to just pick a breakout of the week for those guys. Yeah. So we're not just only talking about lowly owned guys.
And I know Taylor will talk about his from last week if I let him do it. So I'm going to quickly recap you, Taylor. Yep. He took Jordan Love as a top 3 quarterback, and he finished quarterback 3. So I think, what was the brief? Fucking nailed it. Okay, I'll let you do this one. Running backs. Go on, sing your song.
It was just cool because this is the first time I did something really out there, completely different to what I'd sort of been doing in the segment before. And I took 2 guys. I basically did a double. I took 2 running backs, and I went incredibly bullish. I said they're gonna combine for 4+ touchdowns. So basically, they need 2 each, or 1 and 3, or whatever. But that is like, if you would bet on that, it actually would have been insane. So I was definitely going incredibly, out there and taking a bit of a deep flyer on this. But I just love the matchups. Monty up against the Cowboys, he just gets so much of the goal line work. They were 26 against the running back position, and obviously the difference between the Lions' offensive line compared to the Cowboys' defensive line, it was just insane. So I took him, and I also took Bijan. Obviously came in with a little bit of a hamstring sort of issue, but I took him against the Panthers because the Panthers are second last against running back, and I just really like the opportunity for both those guys. So I said they combined for 4+ touchdowns, and they got there in the first fucking half.
Yeah.
Fuck me dead.
Like how emphatic you wanted to be.
In the first half.
Was Taylor painful in every group chat that I am in with him for the next 3.5 hours?
Oh, mate.
Yeah, okay. He might have been.
I was singing like a canary.
Oh, my God. Like a drunk canary. Yeah. Right. And then the CD Lamb, looking for him to finish top 2, didn't pan out. That game really got out of hand. And then Fergie the same game with a touchdown guarantee. Well, no one got a touchdown because that offense really sputtered and stalled, and it was just a tough day out.
It was all gravy after that, Matty.
It's all right. It's all right.
Wide receiver and tight end suck ass. Whatever.
Nailed your top 2.
Incredibly pumped about that running back double, but obviously Jordan Love call was quite good too. So yeah,
Can I also give the better Goodall a shout out here about his Terry McLaurin call against Baltimore, because he had Terry McLaurin to break out, and he goes out and throws up 2 touchdown day, 20+ points in PPR, great day out, and I feel like we don't always get the opportunity to give our guests props on this segment. And of course, I was talking Godwin up and had him as a top 5 play. Turns out he was wide receiver 3, and I felt pretty good about that one. But that's the spirit of the segment, is just plant your fucking flag on a player at each position and describe why you think they're going to have a cracker, no matter in what context. Tay, do you want to lead us off for our week 7 breakout players?
Yeah, and this was a guy I actually brought up 2 weeks ago in a different segment. I had him in Taylor Talk, and I just couldn't believe he was only being started in about 20% of leagues, and he went out and smashed it. And each week he kind of keeps growing, but I still don't think he's being started in enough leagues. Like, he obviously came in as a bit of a streamer, but he's just been dominating this year, and I love his matchup this week. So I'm going to take Baker Mayfield in the breakout players this week, instead of obviously needing to take him in Taylor Talk or start of the week or whatever, because he's up to 49%, so he's like right on the 50%. But yeah, it's crazy. The guy's quarterback 2 on the year. He's up against the Ravens, or second last against the quarterback position this year. I just think he's in for another awesome week. Again, like what I like targeting this year is teams that are clearly like either a running back funnel, or like a rushing funnel, or a passing funnel. And this Ravens defense is the most obvious passing funnel you'll ever see. Like they are so good at defending running backs in the ground that they just basically have to let it up in the air. Like that's the only way that they can sort of get away with it. So yeah, I just think Baker Mayfield's in for a massive game here, and I haven't actually set a line for him in terms of like where he finishes in fantasy a number. What I've said is he's going to have 300 passing yards.
Oh, I like that. Because Baltimore are an arsing funnel. Get that, Ben? Arsing. See what I did there? I just took the P off and it made it arsing.
Acceptable.
I realise here I'm the amateur and Benny's the pro, so I'm trying my backside off to impress him. I was going to say ask it. I realised that wouldn't impress him.
A pass, Mark.
That's so nice. Good. Benny, have you got a quarterback?
Yeah. And no, I don't particularly like this guy.
I love that stuff.
Don't have to.
Just in general as a person. So I'm actually going to go for Aaron Rodgers this week.
That's better.
So against Pittsburgh, I think it looks like Devontae might play as well. So you guys have got some different info. But I just think with him and Garrett Wilson, he's actually got some good weapons. He's just going to sling it. He's been throwing it so much lately. And their running game hasn't been the best or anything either. So I reckon he's going to have a massive game, and he's going to give the weirdest man alive, Russell Wilson, a bit of a hiding.
So you'll have some analysis about this. We've been talking a bit about Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson off mic as well. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. that game's in Pittsburgh, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, I have pause sometimes because I just wonder how many points you're even going to need to score against Pittsburgh. They've got a very good defense. It seems to be even better at home. But then obviously with Russ's pass coming in, I don't even know how many points the Jets are going to have to score. So that would be my only concern with it. But I completely agree with him. Having Wilson and DIONTAE is just an amazing sack. We've buried fucking Tyler Conklin. Conk! He's a great tight end for him to target as well. So what a receiving call. Alan Lazard, fucking Hail Marys. I actually thought Rodgers actually looked quite good last week. Obviously they didn't win the game, but he was sort of slinging it around. It kind of looked at least a little bit like the old Rodgers. So, I'm fine with it. And especially if he's got DIONTAE and Wilson there, that's what you're after.
Well, and in fantasy, so not always, but reality doesn't always match fantasy, but Aaron Rodgers had the closest he's come to a 300-yard passing game since he was a Packer. And it's not like Pittsburgh are a completely impenetrable defense. They, especially against wide receivers, they give you a bit of wiggle room. So, I like the call. I've been nervous to put anyone up against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, but I understand why you would, given the changes this week. So, it sounds like to me one for the brave, but I like that. But I looked at this one, and you know what, Tay? I'm going to do something different too. I'm going to let mine ride for 2 weeks.
Oh, I like it.
Okay. Jordan Love's about to come up against the Texans and the Jags back to back. I'm saying 50 combined points both weeks.
That Jags one could be anything.
It could be anything. Could be 6 because they win it easy and then he just, sits in the ice bath. Or it could be 250 because they're just fuck it, we're just going to go hard. You don't know.
He might score 42 of the 50 against the Jags.
You don't know. I thought you might like that. I'm mixing it up.
Yeah, I do. I like it. Anything different. And, like I said, I feel like we're being almost too stale by just picking a top whatever. I feel like just coming up with a little bit of a different idea is good.
Mate, you inspired me. It's the one time I'll say
that. No compliments, please. All right. Do you want me to go for running back, or do you want to go Benny first? Because in the case I steal them off him.
I want to kick it to Benny. I like this thing of just alternating between the two, and this just gives kind of Benny the chance to lay the table for running back. And I think it's good opportunity, mate. Have you got a running back in there?
I do. So, and this is a guy that I actually really like, and I reckon he'd be a good bloke.
And that matters.
Hang on, superlatives.
Yeah. So this bloke, I've also seen. I actually drafted him sort of in the 3rd round or whatever it was. It's Chase Brown. So I think it's last week, his snaps went up to 62%. He's been good the last 3 weeks or so, been pretty efficient and everything. And I think he's pretty good in the passing game as well, but he hasn't really been used yet in the passing game too much. So I just think there's a fair bit of upside there where he's just sort of waiting to take off there. So I actually reckon he might be a top 10 this week.
Nice.
And do you reckon the shift is on a bit too, just between Zach Moss and Chase Brown?
I think it is, yeah.
He fumbled Zach Moss, and he got just doghouse straight away. Then it was pretty much all Brown after that. I always find it interesting to see how that looks the week after, though, because I do feel like they sometimes just doghouse them in that game and then they give them another chance the next game. So I'll be interested to see the snap counts between them. But, obviously the guy that fumbles is not looked at as good as the one that didn't. So, I like it. And, Brown does seem to be doing more with what he's been given for sure. All right. I like Benny's. Benny's going to be out there. That's sort of what this segment is. He's taking anyone that you think is going to be better than what they're perceived. This guy, it's going to be kind of hard for him to go much further up. He's definitely started everywhere. But, there was some chat about between Kev and Matty and myself about this guy. But I'm going to take Kyron Williams up against the Raiders. And you don't have to talk too much about him. He's absolutely dominating. Anyone talking preseason about all that punt return shit has been completely put to rest. The snap counts are just massive for him. He's a complete workhorse for this team. And if anything, I'm stoked that happened because I snapped him up in 3 different drafts that weekend because he fell to the 3rd round. So I feel like I got a bit out of that because I wanted to take that dip on him because I thought it was ridiculous that everyone was talking him down because of it. And yeah, I just love the guy. He's up against the Raiders this week, 26 against the running back position. And what I've done this week, Matty, I've not only given you a TD guarantee, I've given you a multiple TD guarantee on Kyron.
Oh, raise the roof.
Yeah, he's scoring twice. 2+.
Okay, I've created the new stamp because it turned out the old one had a cast out member of the cast on it. Dr. Good call. And I've created a new stamp that we can put on the social media this week. But I'll put 2 on. Yep. 2!
The double.
Oh my God. Kev's going to hate that.
Kev's punching the air right now, or punching a crocodile or something like that.
That's it. How many? But he'll be like, but how many touchdowns is Corum going to get?
Exactly. But Corum had 2 carries for 17 yards, so he's got a better yards per carry.
I love the bands. I really do.
So
Kev, you might just be one of the best finds ever, Kev. You really are. I went a little bit in the same direction as what you did last week, Tay. And I looked at guys who were on the road, but in super favorable running back matchups. And I looked at Dobbins versus the Cardinals in Arizona and Hubbard versus Washington in Washington. And I thought, what if both of these guys get 100+ total scrimmage yards? Both. Got to get both.
Yep, I like both of them. Dobbins I really like. I can't remember what it was. There was I follow one of the fantasy advice things on Facebook, and I just find it interesting because they're doing a lot of start-sit questions and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was I can't remember who the running back was now. It was someone that's I think it was Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs against the Texans or Dobbins against Arizona. And I actually said Dobbins, even though almost everyone else was saying Jacobs, because I just really love the matchup. I think it's perfect for him. No Gus Edwards, just means it's only him and Kamani Vidal, who, was amazing with that pass last week, but it's just not going to be no one's taking the volume off him. He's just going to get so much work. Arizona just aren't defending anywhere very well, but they're going to run the ball a shitload in this game. So, I really like the Dobbins side, and you don't have to talk me into fucking Chuba Hubbard. I've had a big fucking massive Chuba over him this whole fucking year.
100%. Not in the cupboard. He's got the chub out as well. Well, okay, let's move to wide receiver, Tay.
Yep. Again, pretty high, very highly owned guy, taken probably in the top 5 or 6 of drafts this year. But I just really love this matchup, and he's kind of been, I wouldn't say disappointing. There's been just some games where he's kind of gone missing a little bit to what you would expect from this offense and what you saw out of him last year. I just think this game is set up perfectly for Amon-Ra St. Brown. The Vikings are last against wide receiver, and I talked about pass funnels. This is just another one. The Vikings give up absolutely nothing to the running game, which that's going to be interesting because the Detroit Lions obviously do everything through their running game, and their offensive line just overpowers teams. I think they're actually kind of meeting their match this week. I don't think they're going to be able to just do that. So I think it's going to be a lot of Goff and a lot of Amon-Ra this week. And, I just think they're going to need him in those intermediate routes, and I can see him getting a shitload of receptions. Whether it all comes from a touchdown, I don't know. I can just see this being one of those games where he's 12 for 110 or something like that, and he just PPRs his way to over 20 points. So I had a mixture. I had him 20+ points, but also 10+ receptions.
Hard to argue with because you can see that happening. I mean, what is interesting for the running game for Detroit is that, they're just so strong. They're just so strong at the run, and no one has slowed them down this year. So you kind of wonder if Minnesota can even do that. But, I mean, I shouldn't be saying that in front of Benny. How do you feel about Tay's call here? Do you reckon it's got to be in the air? You're stout on defense?
Yeah, no, I think I'm a bit concerned about this week, to be honest. Detroit have been absolutely dominating in there, in both running and in the air. Look, I think it could be a bit of a thrashing and a bit of a wake-up call for Minnesota.
Until Darnold throws 5 touchdowns for,
that's
2
right.
million yards and, absolutely schools the damn Lions. Just playing some devil's advocate here, mate. I'm sitting next to you on this one.
Speaking of past funnels, the Lions also won.
Yeah, it's pretty well. Although this week, without Hutchinson, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But without Jones, by the look of it, I'm pretty sure at this stage, the last I saw is he's out. I saw very close to our recording time. He's ruled out.
Yep, doesn't surprise me. They're trading for Cam Akers. That's why I said it straight away. I was like, this has to be Jones related. Like, this has to mean, doesn't mean he's like out for the season or something, but they've had it. You don't go and trade anything, like any capital, whether it's a 6 or not, but for a running back that really hasn't done a lot. If you don't 100% need that depth, and it's clear that obviously they believe that Jones is out for longer than they initially thought.
Oh, especially when you got Myles Gaskin just sitting there.
Ass blasting Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, you're asking for it. Because, it's the same as like gagging for teabagging, right? It's you asking for an ass blasting from Gaskin.
Shout out, Astro League.
Betty, if you hadn't gotten there with Gaskin, you're welcome.
I was there. Yeah, I was very there.
Very good. That's only a throwback to about 2021, by the way. When Taylor and I used to do raps on the show when it was a podcast about a specific league and we used to talk matchups and oh my God. So Betty, let's bring it back to you. I want to talk about your wide receiver. Hot call for this week. Who's breaking out?
Yeah, so I've actually got one which is going to rival Tay's double touchdown guarantee.
Oh,
I'm actually going to go with AJ Brown. Now, I know he's one of the best in the league and everything, but I'm going to go 2 touchdowns in the first half. So AJ Brown.
I love it.
And I mean, 100%. I'd like to see someone stand up and go, no. Because, I mean, fuck me. Did you see how fresh and sharp he looked last week coming off the bye and just ate Cleveland up? The game shouldn't have been as close as it was, just given how well AJ Brown was playing. He should have he should have had 15 targets.
Yeah, he's an absolute freak and he'll get it done for us this week.
Unbelievable. Tay, I know you're laughing, but, I mean, is that out of admiration?
It's stories. Like, I just love someone coming in and being that bold.
Just cock out.
You kind of have to when you're taking hiring guys. Like, it makes sense. But yeah,
fucking
2
bold.
touchdowns in the first half. It's so good. I can't wait.
Are you elevating the car into the first half now as well? I just want to see what you're moving.
Chase that one, Tay.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've just been de-pantsed and I'm showing a fucking innie. Like,
I was in the pool.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by my own taking him to score 2 touchdowns in a whole game. Anyone could do that. What a peasant.
Yeah, mate, you found 2 guys who could do it last week. I mean, Jesus. They're just around. They're just lying about on the scrap heap.
Surprised you can go 3. Yeah, look. No.
I mean, those guys got it done in the first half as well. I found out with painful frequency that happened in the first half last week with your 2 guys as well.
I know. So good. It was hilarious they didn't score another one too. It was just like they hit the 4 in the first half, no more.
Yeah, and then it was Tyler Algier season.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
All right, well, my wide receiver, I've gone back to the Terry McLaurin world because Carolina can't defend my undersized 11-year-old. So I'm looking forward to seeing Terry McLaurin just run rampant against him. But you know what else I thought about? I thought about how Drake London has just all of a sudden become not just a target monster, but he is receiving everything. He's just receiving everything. So I'm giving both of them a touchdown guarantee this week.
Oh, God. We're just handing them touchdown guarantees out left, right, centre. I love it.
Yeah, well, I'm calling it's got to be both. It's got to be both.
Yep, good stuff. I like it.
That's where I'm up to. All right. Tight end is a barren wasteland of absolute shit. So I generally let our guests just come in strong with theirs. And then if one of us has copied it, well, we kind of look like the bozo. So I'm hoping you've got a real crack here, Benny.
Yeah, so this one is sort of following on what Tay was talking about with Baker. So I've gone K-Dot, and I'm going to take him with for over 60 yards and a touchdown.
60 yards and a tutty.
You know, because it's fun.
Which will then make him tight end one in the season.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so Kate Otten recently has been gobbling up the targets, and like Tay was saying, they're going to have to air it out this game as well, and I just think he's going to play a big part in it.
Tay, you had him in Taylor Talk very recently. Like, it's I don't know. I feel like there should be something like gagging for teabagging to do with Otten, because it sounds like he's got a name that should play with that. But it's too late at night. I'm an old man and my brain isn't firing if I haven't done the research on it. But I feel like there should be something like that for Otten.
Like I brought him up earlier in the year. It was a weird one where he didn't get like any targets in the first like 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it just sort of flipped. All of a sudden, Baker actually noticed that he even existed. But yeah, this offense is just passing so much that he's just getting residual targets just out of how often this team's passing. Like, they obviously don't have amazing running backs. Bucky Irving looked all right, but, you know, with Rashad White and stuff like that, I think they're just realising that their best work is through the air. So I just think it's part of it. He often gets left alone when you've got guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin that you've got to worry about. It just leaves a guy like Kate open a lot. So he's always a chance in the red zone. He kind of always has been. I've been watching him the last few weeks, and he seems to just be getting more and more targets every week.
Who's your tight end, Tay?
Yeah, obviously, again, mine's pretty high, and I wanted to try and I feel like I almost didn't go bold enough, so I'm going to make it a little bit bolder with my call, because I'm essentially taking the tight end 2 on the season so far, but I just absolutely love his matchup this week. Also, the trades, obviously, that we haven't really fully got into yet, has probably impacted this guy for the positive as well. So I'm going to take Brock Bowers up against the Rams, who were second last against touchdown, and they were complete arse at defending the tight end position last year too.
Yeah,
I just think, obviously, Devontae getting dealt, it just opens up so much for this guy. I honestly think he's going to be the tight end 1 the rest of the season. I know the offense isn't going to completely hum the whole time, and touchdowns are going to be the only issue for him. But I just think I can see him having 8 to 10 catches every single week. I just think he's for a rookie, he's just trusted so much, and they just need him so bad. And if they're going to move the ball at all, he's just going to be part of it all year. So what I'm going to do, I've got him for 8+ receptions, but I don't honestly think that that's really that bold. So I'm going to take him I'm going to add points here. I'm going to go take him for 22+ points.
Oh! I started writing down he's going to say 18.
No, 22. Fuck it. Which, to be fair, the hard part about that is I really don't think there is going to be a lot of touchdowns for him. I just don't think AOC is going to facilitate a huge an offense with a lot of touchdowns. But I just think he's going to be so involved that if he gets 12 receptions, then he's only needing to get the 100 yards on top of that. I don't know. I just think there's an opportunity here that he could really, really dominate the rest of the season, and we will see for 2 years running a rookie tight end be the tight end 1 on the season.
Jesus. You know where I think you're wrong, Tay?
How many points? Or the tight end 1 thing?
It's just that Travis Kelce is about to be in a Super Bowl rematch, and he's my tight end breakout this week, because if ever there was a day where you could just imagine Mahomes and Kelce having the 4 passing touchdowns thing ever again, it'll be against San Francisco, won't it?
Yeah, they always beat the shit out of them. They seem to take it. It's the one game where they decide to actually bring their offense out again. Yeah. And I remember they absolutely lit them up there last year. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised just from what we've seen out of the Chiefs' offense so far if that
exactly
happen. But
that's why it's bold.
Yeah, it seems to just happen. Kelce is the one guy, and funnily enough, any league I targeted Bowers in, it was actually for Kelce a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, Rice was there. The situations were different. I actually 100%. Sent out a couple of offers of trying to get Bowers for Kelce. Kelce is literally the only guy now I wouldn't trade for Bowers. I would trade every other tight end for him. Honestly, even Kittle, I would trade for Bowers. Only because I know Kittle's tight end 1 and he's dominated so far this year. But I still am a believer in that Niners offense of, like, it can go to anyone on any week. And I just
100%.
feel like, I honestly, the fact that Kittle's dominated so much actually makes me believe he's actually a trade-away candidate, because I know it's hard to say that at tight end, and it needs to be for another good tight end. Like, that's why I would say maybe targeting Bowers for him the rest of the season makes sense. But, yeah, I just don't believe that's going to be consistently there for him, because the Niners just share around. Obviously, McCaffrey coming back eventually is going to make that even harder too. So, yeah, I feel like he's a good trade-away target. But, yeah, I like Kelsey. I feel like he's so needed. I brought him up as a buy low a couple of weeks ago.
It's a perfect buy low
segment
in week 4.
I think he's in for a really good rest of the year. I have him in Dynasty, which honestly was almost looking like a sunk asset a few weeks ago, and now all of a sudden he's kind of looking like himself again. So, yeah,
now he's back like last night's fucking pizza, mate. You can taste him in the back of your throat again. It's amazing.
Yeah, it feels good because, it's hard in those tight end streets to find anyone that you get any consistency out of. So to have him back and looking like he's a huge part of the offense again is great.
So 10 catches, 2 touchdowns is what I have for him. I mean, but it wouldn't surprise me if they throw 4 passing touchdowns if he had them all. It just would not surprise me. But I thought, okay, the line I'm going to bet on here is go, right, 2 touchdowns, 10 catches. It's just all of a sudden it's the funnel back to the middle of the field again.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow, we've made it through breakouts. We've done our 5 questions. You know what that makes it time for, Tay?
Yep.
Fire it up! It's Taylor Talk time!
TALOR. Taylor Talk time. Hot Diggity Dog.
I'll get through this quick tonight. I'll quickly touch on the guys I brought up last week, because I had a couple of really big hits, actually, I was pretty happy with. So I took Caleb, up against the Jags in London. They were last against the quarterback positions, but he was only 27% started going into the week. So I just thought I would have a bit of conviction on him going into that game, and he was amazing. Quarterback 2 on the week. I got the Astro League stats for here. It's 33.64 points in Astro League, so he would have had something very similar in most leagues, but any 6-point passing touchdown leagues anyway. But yeah, quarterback 2 on the week was a pretty big hit for a guy only getting 27% started.
Drilled it.
Taylor nailed.
Running back, another one that I kind of more brought this guy up as someone that I thought you could still start even if the starter was playing. Obviously, then the starter being Singletary didn't play, and then I had Tyrone Tracy up against the Bengals, who are 20th against the running back position. He was only 19% started. He finished at running back 10 with 19.7 points. So that was a pretty massive hit for me on this one too.
Yeah, drilled it.
Taylor nailed.
Absolutely drilled it. And even the week before when Singletary was out, all of a sudden, Tracy really looked the part, and so getting that role again against the Buffalo defense against the Cincinnati defense, who haven't been great at anything, terrific, and paid off handsomely. Anyone who took that advice had a great time.
PSA for anyone that picked up Tracy, I believe if Singletary comes back, please don't drop him. Like, don't think that all of a sudden because the starter's back that he's not going to be useful. I can see him having like a very similar role to like Jaylen Warren last year, and that was very, very relevant. And to be honest, there's a chance that he just takes over that role. Like, the Singletary hasn't looked amazing, and Tracy just has juice. And I think there's at least an opportunity he can get a 60-40 split moving forward. And honestly, I think that's enough for a guy like that can break off a play. He looks amazing he's a wide receiver converted to a running back. So he looks great in the passing game. So please don't drop him. I honestly think he has playability even when Singletary's there. So that was kind of mainly my point last week, but thought I'd say that point again. Wide receiver, I took Darnell Mooney. They just didn't need him. It was one of those games where they just ran the ball so easily, which can happen, obviously, against Carolina. 5.3 points in half PPR, wide receiver, whatever. I didn't even write that down, but 5.3 points isn't what I was really after with Darnell Mooney, but in the end, it's just is what it is. I still think Mooney's a good start moving forward. It just didn't pan out in this game.
Taylor failed.
All right, my ball sack hurts. Zach Ertz up against the Ravens, who are 29th against tight end going into that game. He was 28% started. In of 8.8 points in half PPR and tight end 10. So, look,
Good week.
It's pretty hard. It's hard enough finding a tight end that everyone's starting that actually goes well, let alone someone that's only been started in a quarter of leagues to have probably 10 points in full PPR. That was something I was actually pretty happy with. I was happy with the targets the week before, even though I only caught 2 of them. And in the end, he's just involved in the offense, and Jaden Daniels looks amazing. So it's just kind of exciting following this Commanders team because they're just going from strength to strength.
Taylor nailed.
Yeah, and you give me any tight end who's going to get 8 targets, and I'm just in. I'm just in. So, mate, I mark you here, like between Caleb, Tracy, and Ernst. That's 3 right, and Mooney. Well, any week he could be right. So like 3 out of 4. That's a pretty good week, mate. Taylor nailed.
Yeah, it was probably my best week. I think it was definitely one that definitely nailed the most. But I'll go into.
How do you back that up, mate? How do you back it up?
Yeah, I'm going to back it up with doing something really, really risky. And I've got a theme here in a way that I've basically taken 3 of my positions are from the same team. And I think I could give you about 26 guesses or something, and you may not pick the team. Not exactly a team that people think of when you're thinking like, brilliant offense. And I guess that's why these guys are in this segment, because then none of them are being started by a lot of people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my running back. I'm going to say my running back first because he's the only guy not from that team.
Okay.
It's Alexander Madison up against the Rams, who are 25th against the running back position. He's only 30% started. He's just sort of taken over that role. Obviously, Zamir White being out has sort of assisted in that, but I just felt like he was starting to take over anyway. And he's had a touchdown in basically every game. He seems to have a nose for the end zone. And he's looked really good in the passing game too. So, I don't know. Even if Zamir White all of a sudden come back, I think Madison's probably taken over that lead role anyway. And, I just think he's trusted by this team at this stage. So, you give me a guy that's only 30% started and he's basically getting a touchdown every week. Giddy up. All right, Benny, any guesses of what my team might be that I have all 3 from?
He's got to pick a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a tight end for this segment. I've got a guess. Do you want me to throw mine out first, Benny, to give you a bit of an indication? Because he said it's a lowly team. I'm gonna say the Patriots.
Yep, it's definitely the Patriots, and it's definitely
all right. Good. That was the one that I was going to pick
against the Jags. So I've taken Drake May, Pop Douglas, and Hunter Henry. And the thing is about the wide receiver position is there's actually like 5 guys you could have actually looked at that all sort of fit this segment. And obviously that makes it hard, but I really do feel like Pop Douglas is the guy that's going to sort of lead this wide receiving core. He's the one that's getting easily the most targets. He had a good rapport with Drake May last week. I'll just say Drake May up against the Jags, who are last against the quarterback position. Pop Douglas against the Jags, who are second last against the wide receiver position. Hunter Henry against the Jags, where they're actually 19th against the tight end position. So technically not anywhere near as bad as the other positions, but
mate, we're solid against the tight end, mate. That's what we're known for.
So stout. But I just think I wanted to sort of just take this on. It's obviously a bit of a risk going with a rookie like this, playing his second game of all time, traveling over to London. But I just think Drake May actually looked good in that second half. Obviously there was growing pains in that first half, but he did enough for me to have at least a bit of confidence, especially against this Jags defense. I'm taking that sort of 3-pack from the Pats. And, let's see how they go. Drake May's a solid 4% started. Pop Douglas, 3%. And Hunter Henry at a huge 10%. Henry just seems trusted. Like, he's obviously always a target in the red zone anyway, but his numbers have sort of been going up recently. He had one massive game, I think it was in week 2, but he just has been involved. And obviously, you got to throw out some of the Jacoby Brissett stuff. Like, there were games where he's throwing for like 60 yards. So, like, it's obviously hard. It's just basically, it's good to stack a thing like this because if Drake May is a guy that could throw for 250 in this game, then you're going to get an uplift on everyone. So everything you're seeing in terms of the stats so far, you're getting possibly like a 2.5x, addition to that. And Pop Douglas has, I believe it's something like 8 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. So he was getting trusted even by Jacoby, let alone Drake May coming straight in and facilitating that. So Pop Douglas, to me, just seemed like the best wide receiver, at least the safest one to take a shot at. And Hunter Henry, I've just always felt like in that red zone, he just seems to be a bit of a safety blanket, especially for a rookie. And I think he's underrated as a tight end. I think he has the ability to actually get out there and actually make some plays. And you can't say that about every tight end in the league. So, yeah, I really liked him this week. And even though the Jags, technically that's not where they're beaten compared to the other positions, they're still, below average. So I just think in general there's an opportunity for them to be able to pass all over him.
Well, I think you got guys who are missing this week in terms of buys. There's 3 Bears receivers people have been starting with some regularity. Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams. But then you also get the Cowboys guys. Like everyone who's a pass catcher of the Cowboys and Dak are valuable. None of the running backs really in either team are that valuable. But yeah, all of a sudden missing all of those, even though it's only 2 teams on buy, that's a lot of firepower to not have available. So it's just, I think it's really worthwhile then talking through each of these positions and why they are on the spectrum, because especially with tight end, fuck me, tight end is a barren wasteland. Oh my Jesus Christ! If Brock Bowers, has he had a touchdown this year? Is tight end 2?
He had one massive one. He had like a 60-yarder or something against Denver, I think it was. But yeah, he's not going to be a high. See, he's kind of the opposite of what the tight end position can be. He's actually going to be a volume hunter, whereas
volume's his way.
Generally with tight end, it's like you're chasing that touchdown. And honestly, that could be what you're doing with Hunter Henry, but I can see there being some volume for him. I can see him having like a 4 for 45, 4 for 50 baseline. And I know that's not blowing you away, but in the tight end position, that's a very good baseline. And if you can possibly add a touchdown on top of that, happy days.
100%. Wow. Okay, so we've got Drake May, Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, and then in the strange other game, Madison at the Rams have been pretty awful defensively anyway, but just a 30% starter guy who's getting the volume now. It was Samir White's look, I love this. I like that you're doing something different, and we'll come back and mark you on it, but you got plenty of Taylor nails this week, so we'll see how you go next week, mate. I did find that drop. I'm slowly plugging them in again.
I like it. Yeah, let's see if it's gone from a Taylor nail to a Taylor failed this week.
Yeah. Notice when things were going rocky, I kept the Taylor failed on the back burner, mate. Now that you're winning, I'm starting to bring him back.
Yeah, exactly.
I might be rude to your face, but at least I do nice things in post-production, mate. That's
time to humble me up.
100%. Hey, Betty, you've managed to survive the entire Friday show. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Yeah. I feel fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Show me on the doll where you feel violated.
Probably in the arse, knowing that.
That's 100% what I thought you would say. Hey, look, you survived 5 questions and you did that with absolute grace. And thank you so much for bringing some breakout players. How do you feel now positioned to bring on the Sunday show where it's about starts of the week and it's really tests your mettle?
Yep, feeling very good, very confident, and we're gonna smash her.
Fucking love this. I love this. I love how World is so cocky. I love it.
Yes, you're right.
Mate, we'll bring you back for the Sunday show if you're willing to. So, mate, can we rely on you?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me. I'll be back.
Fuck you, Will.
Tay, you've got a bit to prove on the Sunday show, so I know you're back. I know you're back. I've seen the leaderboard.
It's like that meme where it's like someone playing the PlayStation, and as soon as you get behind, you lean forward. That's pretty much this is pretty much what I'm doing. I let myself get behind. Like I was down 4 points to World after 2 weeks. Couldn't have started worse. Then crawled my way back, and that's all I'm going to do here, mate. I've let them get a false sense of security, and This is where I just beat the shit out of Benny and get that lead back.
This is like just letting the younger brother get a bit of a lead in backyard one-on-one, and then you just start raining in the paint points.
First to 11, it's 10-0, and it's just like that's just when you ruin them. That's just fucking guacamole.
You can't stop my post up.
Yeah, backing him down and just dunking the shit out of it.
It'd be like you versus me one-on-one, mate. Can you imagine little 5'10" me trying to stop you in the paint? 100%.
Wilt Chamberlain against Muggsy Bogues.
100%. 100%. Well, look, we'll be back for the Sunday show. And in the meantime, make sure you catch the G'day Gridiron guys. They've got their reaction show. It's up now from earlier in the week just to get a grip on everything that happened in the league. And there's been some stuff. We've talked a little bit about the trades, but they will get into all the G'day AI as well. And then they'll also be back tomorrow with their preview shows for the rest of the week. We're then back on Sunday, and you can find all of this everywhere you get podcasts. So where you do find us, like and subscribe. But also, while you're at it, hit the mothership. It is at Aussie NFL Fantasy on the Linktree. It's got everything you need. There's Aussie Gridiron Network. It's got our giveaway for the tipping competitions. It's got Manjot's great new projects, both his Manjot Night Football, which is NFL analysis, which is back with a vengeance after a couple of year break, but he also presents the Aussie Gridiron Today, which is based in Australian Gridiron. I help him on that one as well. And you can find all of this at Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. In the meantime, we're going to get out of here. We'll catch you all on the Sunday show. A big hooroo to you, Tay and Benny. See you on Sunday.
Goodbye, my love.
For the Aussie Gridiron Network, this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Darnold fucked me. You're like, just say that sentence again and remember a month ago when nobody had Darnold. Stop it.
Baltimore Orioles all over again.
Aussie?
And this is a question you asked them, everyone. So I had to think about this one, and I've always had
Say it.
an affiliation with Kenyon Drake.
NFL?
Just got a list of like 4 guys that I actually like them all.
Fucking Bo Nix, and Bo Nix, I reckon.
Yeah, all by this, obviously.
Fantasy.
He's also got the kind of name where you just think, if this guy was Cortland Sutton, 4th Esquire of Northumberlandshire or something like that, you'd be like, yeah, I could buy that.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I agree. It's over. Early crow. White flag. My team is no chance of winning.